family, welcome back to my channel. So today for you guys I have some Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs, and this is more of a throwback video. It is featuring some of my favorite DIYs I've done over the past couple of years, including one of my favorite hacks using Dollar Tree Christmas trees. I wanted to upload this video because I do know I have a lot of new subscribers. Not everybody has seen my previous Christmas DIYs and people don't really go back to those. They kind of look for what's new. So I wanted to share with you guys some of my favorites that I've done over the years, and they still have these items. Like, you can go to Dollar Tree right now and find these items, especially the Christmas trees. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and I hope to have some new Christmas DIYs out for you guys soon. I have an idea for something that I got so many requests for. I just had to figure out how to print it out. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe and click the bell button to be notified every single time that I upload. If you're really into Christmas DIYs, especially using Dollar Tree products, make sure you subscribe because I will have a bunch coming out soon. Thank you so much for watching. Now let's begin the video. From Dollar Tree, you want to pick up 2 of these Merry Christmas red truck signs. You could get 3 of them if you like, and I'll tell you why exactly later on, but at least start with 2. And what you're going to do is you're going to remove the strings and the staples that are on the back of these signs. You also want to remove the Christmas tree from these signs. Now, what I'm going to be using to create more of a fuller type of truck is these little wooden boxes from Dollar Tree. I removed the 2 little pieces that are sticking out of the lid, and what I'm doing is I'm taking those boxes, 2 of them total, so I have 4 different pieces because each box comes with 2 different pieces, and I'm using those pieces to create the truck, the middle portion of the truck, so I have a full truck and not just 2 random pieces of a sign. And I just lay out the pieces, figure out how I want them to be placed. I started off with 3 of them. I put 2 of them toward the front of the truck, so the hood of the truck, and then I used 1 piece to be the hood of the truck. You might hear random growling noises or squeaky noises behind me. Pepper and Izzy are currently play fighting and they're just crazy. Okay, so to glue it down, I'm just using a hot glue gun. A hot glue gun is good enough for this. You can always use E6000, super glue, other different types of glue, but I just used a hot glue gun. From Dollar Tree, I'm going to be using one of their unfinished wood crates on the back of the truck, so it'll be the bed of the truck. I figured out the placement of that crate before I attached the roof on, and then I went ahead and attached the roof on. Once I have the roof attached, I then glue the other truck sign that I got to the other side of these boxes. Now, to paint the unfinished wood, I am going to be using this apple barrel paint from Walmart, and it is in red apple, and it matched this perfectly. This costs around 50 cents at Walmart, this paint. Now, obviously, one side of your truck is going to be unfinished because of the way these trucks are when you glue them. So what you can do is you could just paint it yourself, or you can get another truck from Dollar Tree and take off pieces of the truck, like the tires and then the top of the truck, and just try to glue that down somehow to the other side. Or you could just paint it, which I did. And one side of the truck, the way I displayed it, you can't even see it. So, if you don't really plan on having both sides showing, it's okay if one side looks a little wonky. To my 4th and final piece from the 2 boxes that I had, I am gluing that to the front of the truck. I totally forgot to attach this right away, so I ended up having to do it now. You can attach this piece before you attach the other side of the truck. I just wasn't thinking, so I went ahead, glued that, and then painted that piece. I then went ahead and glued on my crate. The crate I ended up just painting brown. It was like a dark walnut color. And then for the window part, I had to paint that a dark brown color. I mixed brown and black paint together to create the dark brown color because, you can obviously see the unfinished wood. So I wanted to darken that color, and I didn't really want to paint it red because I thought it'd be funny. So I just painted a dark color. Now, you can put whatever you want to in the bed of the truck. I am going to be adding a Christmas tree. This Christmas tree is from Dollar Tree. I wanted to shorten it up, so I took some pliers and bent the little piece of metal that's between the Christmas tree. So I bent it to the size I wanted it to be until that piece of metal fell off. So I had a shorter Christmas tree. I didn't toss the bottom piece of the tree that I cut off. I took all the greenery off of it, and one piece of that greenery I used to make a wreath. So I just bent it around, made a little wreath circle, and then I took this little floral pick, the holly berry, off of it because it was a nice small size, and I just kind of glued that around the little wreath that I was making using hot glue. and then I glued the wreath to the front of my truck. That extra greenery that I took from the bottom of the tree, I attached to the tree that I'm putting on the back of the truck just to make it look fuller because these trees are very sparse looking. Then I added some buffalo check print ribbon that I got at Walmart. I just wrapped that around the tree, and then I added some fake snow, which I love to do. I got this for $1 at Dollar General. At this point, I attached the tree to the crate, and I used hot glue. You can just place it in there, but I didn't want to move anywhere, so I just put hot glue at the bottom of the tree and then glue that to one side of the crates. I then decided to add some of those little holly berries that I cut off of that little pick, and then I also added some pine cones. The pine cones I'm using are from Dollar General. It comes with 12 pine cone ornaments for $1. You can get pine cones at Dollar Tree, but they're not ornaments and they're not already covered in snow. So if you can make your way to Dollar General, it's worth going there for the pine cones there. That was it for the truck. You can add another piece of wood in the back of the truck to cover up the gap there. I didn't do that. Like I said, you can really only see the side of my truck the way that I displayed it, but I absolutely love this. I've wanted to make like a bigger truck for a very long time now, and now I have. Now moving on to this Christmas tree. Again, from Dollar Tree, you're just gonna buy one of their Christmas trees. For the base of the tree, I'm going to be using this galvanized bucket. It's the wider one. They usually carry a taller and wider one. I'm using the wider one. And then I'm going to hot glue the bottom of the tree to the very center of the bucket. I'm not using the stands that come with the tree because it doesn't fit inside of the bucket. And to make sure this tree doesn't go anywhere on me, I'm going to fill it up with some stones, and the stones I'm using are from Dollar Tree. Next up, I'm taking this red truck ornament, also from Dollar Tree, removing the string that is on it as well as the bottom portion that says Merry Christmas, and I'm going to be gluing that to the bucket. I glue it on the side of the bucket that doesn't have any wording on it. Now, I was thinking of painting over the areas that said flowers and garden, but I felt like in order to really hide that color, I was going to have to do a lot of layers of silver paint, and I felt like it was going to take away from the galvanized look. Or I could have painted a darker color, and I just didn't want to do that. So I went ahead and glued that to a side that just didn't have the writing, and I removed one of the handles so I was able to glue it to that side. I just held the truck in place until it completely dried, and then I added some red paint to the very top rim of the bucket because I felt that it would look really nice. And the color I'm using is the same color that I used for the truck. It's the apple barrel red apple color. To make the tree look fuller, I'm going to be using this Garland from Dollar Tree, and I just wrap it around the tree because these trees, honestly, I've said it so many times, they're very sparse. They look super pathetic almost if you don't make it look fuller. It kind of looks like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree if you don't use Garland to make it look fuller because it's so empty. Now I wrap some of this berry garland around the Christmas tree. Again, from Dollar Tree. I go ahead, wrap it around, cut off the excess garland, which I did have excess garland because it's 9 feet long. And then I added my fake snow per usual. I should probably add the fake snow beforehand lots of times, but I just forget to. Then I topped the tree off with some red glitter ornaments. They're miniature ornaments, 16 in a pack from Dollar Tree, and I just add those to the Christmas tree. And that was it for the Christmas tree. The way that I showed it to you guys, you can see in some of the footage that I do have small little red trucks on the tree, and the little red trucks are from Dollar Tree. There's 4 in a pack. Next up, this enamel / Ray Dunn inspired Christmas tree. From Dollar Tree, you want to pick up one of their galvanized buckets. I'm using one of the longer ones versus the wider ones. And I painted this entire thing white with white chalk paint. I just prefer to use chalk paint because it dries more quickly. You can use a regular acrylic paint. Now I'm taking black acrylic paint and I am painting the rim on the top of the bucket. And I prefer to use a sponge to do this because it makes it so much easier to do and you end up with a better line versus trying to use a regular paintbrush. Just glide your sponge along that rim and you're good to go. Looking back at it, I wish I would have did the bottom as well. So hey, if you want to do the bottom, do the bottom. Now I'm going to be taking a pencil and a ruler and writing tree in the Ray Dunn font style, but honestly, you can use your Cricut machine if you have it. You can transfer it using chalk, which I've shown before in a previous Ray Dunn tutorial. I'll link down below. But the Ray Dunn font is so simple, you can honestly just do it with a ruler. And that's what I did. I just spelled out tree, and then I filled it in using a black paint pen. Now I'm placing a Christmas tree from Dollar Tree inside of the bucket. I added some glue to the bottom of the tree, and then I glued that down to the center of the bucket. And you need something to secure the tree in place so it doesn't fall over. So to secure it in place, I'm using stones from Dollar Tree, and I just fill the bucket up so that it surrounds the bottom pole of the tree and it ain't gonna go anywhere on me. I start to open up the Christmas tree now, and I've said it so many times, if you watch any of my Christmas tutorials with the Dollar Tree Christmas trees, they are very sparse and it kind of looks funny. So to fill this up, I'm going to be using some of the 15-foot Garland Dollar Tree carries, and you know I obviously didn't use 15 feet to fill this up. Now let's decorate the Christmas tree. From Dollar Tree, I'm going to be using these ornaments, and I remove the top of the ornament, and then I just take my black paint and sponge and just paint that middle portion of the ornament that's popping out. So I get this black and white ornament, and I go ahead and I string the garland that's on the tree through the top of the ornament. I don't add the string through it just because I feel like it looks funny on these smaller trees. I rather just attach them directly through the branches of the tree. Don't know if that makes sense, but you can see what I'm doing. Finally, I added some white ribbon around the tree and then added small pine cones. The pine cones I glued on using my glue gun. That was it for the Ray Dunn enamel inspired Christmas tree and Christmas ornaments. How cute is this thing? It reminds me of something you can buy at like Marshall's, Home Goods, something like that. Now less So those are two little DIY ornaments you can do. For the top of the tree, I took one of the ornaments and I looped it through the top of the branch of the tree. So the top technically of that ornament was the bottom of the tree. I don't know if that makes sense. And then I took that greenery that I initially took off and glued that to what would be actually the bottom of the ornament. Don't know if that makes sense, but you can see what I did. Finally, I added some white ribbon around the tree and then added small pine cones. The pine cones I glued on using my glue gun. That was it for the Ray Dunn enamel inspired Christmas tree and Christmas ornaments. How cute is this thing? It reminds me of something you can buy at like Marshall's, Home Goods, something like that. Now let's move on to these adorable bowls and cup from Dollar Tree. So from Dollar Tree, what you want to do is pick up any dinnerware you like. I'm using these small little bowls I found. Now Dollar Tree is carrying these transferable rub-on like stickers right now. I got this nice black font one, and what you do is you cut out the letters you need. There is a white paper on the back that you will peel off, and then take the letter and rub it onto the surface of whatever it is you are applying the sticker to. What I recommend doing is starting with the middle letters and then working your way outward. The reason I recommend starting with the middle is because you get better placement that way. You don't want to start with the first letter or the last letter and then realize, oh, this is not where I wanted it to be. So you get better placement if you start in the middle, especially if you're doing it on a cup or like a plate. The bowl is a little bit more forgiving, but I do recommend starting in the middle and then working your way out. You get better placement. This was my favorite DIY because I've never used the transferable stickers, so they were really fun to work with, and it's really inexpensive. So you could just get one cup or whatever it might be and then one pack of transferable stickers, and it only costs $2. To make the two bowls and the mug, it cost me $5 instead of $6 because I was able to use 2 packs of the transferable stickers on 3 of these, and I still had a bunch of letters left over. And that was it for these bowls and the mug. I really like these. Now onto these black and white buffalo check Christmas trees. For this, I'm using Christmas trees from Dollar Tree. To get these trees to stay up straight, I'm using these small looking honey glasses and stones from Dollar Tree. To get the bottom of the tree to stand up straight and not fall over, I place the tree inside of the glass and then I add the stones. I tried to wedge as many of those stones as I could into the glass to make sure the bottom was secured. You can put the stands that come with the tree on the bottom of the tree, but I think it will look funny trying to cover that up with a scarf. So that's why I use the glasses and the stones instead. For the bottom of the trees, I will be using these black and white buffalo check scarves I got from Dollar Tree. And what I do is I place it under the glass, figure out how many little lines I should cut, so rows of those little squares. So I decided to do 12 of those rows of squares. So I lay the scarf out and I count 12 of those little square rows and then I cut it there. After I have the strip cut out, I place it under the glass and slowly wrap it around the glass. Next, I'll be wrapping twine around the scarf. So that the scarf stood in place while I figured out the twine placement, I just used a ponytail holder. I put the ponytail holder around the glass and then I tie the twine around it. And again, the twine is from Dollar Tree. Pretty much everything I'm using is from Dollar Tree unless stated otherwise. Once the twine is on, you can make other adjustments like cut excess scarf or just kind of fold out the scarf a little bit more, and then you can unravel the tree. Now the trees from Dollar Tree are very sparse, so to make it look fuller, I am going to be using these garland pieces that I am going to be wrapping around the Christmas tree. So I take a piece and I wrap it around the tree where the pole is, and I just keep doing that until I think the tree is full enough. You can leave it at just this. I decided to add fake snow. I love doing this, so I'm using this fake snow that I got from Dollar General for $1, and I just spray it to the trees. Next, I'm adding some ribbon. The ribbon is from Walmart. It was $1.98, so it's not a bad price. I'm using that as garland for my trees. Now I made 2 small trees and 1 big one. What makes the 2 smaller ones smaller is that I bent the top of the tree backwards to make it shorter. To the short trees, I decided to add pine cones. You can buy pine cones from Dollar Tree and use a hot glue gun to glue the pine cones to the stems, and then you can spray them with the fake snow if you like. Other affordable options I found were at Dollar General. They have a 12-pack of snow pine cones for $1, and then Walmart, which has these pine cone ornaments for $1.98. I went with the Walmart pine cones mainly on the smaller trees because I really like the way that they look. Now the larger tree, I was thinking of making black and white buffalo check ornaments using Dollar Tree ornaments and the scarves, and just kind of wrapping the scarf around the ornaments with hot glue to secure it in place. But then I ended up finding these ornaments. There's a 6-pack of them. They were half off, so it was $6 from Hobby Lobby. So I just decided to go that route. It's the same price I would have spent if I would have bought the ornaments from Dollar Tree, but then I would have spent more money trying to wrap the scarf around each one, and it just wouldn't come out as nice. So I went the route of just getting these from Hobby Lobby and putting them on the tree. And that's it for the trees. I absolutely love them. At Walmart, they carry these trees, just a smaller version without the pine cones or the ornaments, for $14. And they're like 1/4 of the size on the smaller side. So I think these came out great. Let's move on to this buffalo check tier tray. From Dollar Tree, I'm going to be using their brownie pan and their pie pan. Now I'm going to be painting these pans black. I'm using this folk art black paint that I got from Walmart, and what I'm doing is I'm just painting the inner rim of the pans as well as like the top rim and then the outside of it. I do not paint the bottom that is inside of the pan because I'm going to be putting paper over that as well as something that's going to create the tier, so I rather that stuff stick directly to the pan versus the paint that's inside of the pan. So I avoid painting the bottom of the inside of the pan. Now I'm taking a rolling pin and I'm using a hand saw to cut the rolling pin. I make one piece longer than the other piece, so the bottom piece that is bigger I am going to be putting at the bottom of the tier tray, and the smaller one is going to go at the top of the tier tray. Because these rolling pins are real wood, I decided to use a wood stain. I prefer to use a wood stain versus painting them with the acrylic paint when it's wood, just because it looks so nice. I'm using this Varathane dark walnut stain. You can always get acrylic paint, water it down, and use that as a wood stain. I just have some wood stain on hand, so I prefer to use that if I have it on hand, and I really do like this color. Next up, I'm going to be using this buffalo check stationery that I got at Hobby Lobby. It is 69 cents, but if you buy 4 of them, it only costs $1, and I needed 2 of them for this. What I do is I take the pans and I just trace the bottom of the pans onto the back of the paper, and then I cut that piece out. And those pieces are going to be going inside of the pans. But before I place them inside of the pans, I cut out the shape of where the rolling pin is going to be. I do not want to glue the rolling pin to the piece of paper because my entire tier tray is just going to collapse on me. If the rolling pin is attached to the paper, it's going to collapse. So you need it to be attached to the pan, not the paper. So that's why it's important to cut a hole out into your piece of paper. So I go ahead and place the paper inside of the pan, and then I glue the rolling pins. I'm using E6000 glue. I decided not to glue my paper down until I had the rolling pin in place, just in case I ended up gluing the paper down, realizing I have the rolling pin not in the spot I wanted it to be in, and then I have to take this icky, like paper right off. You want to wait for that E6000 to completely dry before you start sticking stuff inside of your tray. Otherwise, it's just going to collapse on you. Wait for it to dry. It takes about 24 hours. That's what I waited. Now I'm going to be adding some of that ribbon that I got from Walmart around my pans. You don't have to do it. It's not necessary, but I like the way it looks. So I just used a hot glue gun to glue the ribbon around the pans slowly. You want to do it very slowly so you don't end up with too much bunching on the ribbon. That's it for the tier tray. I wanted to share with you guys how I decorated it using inexpensive items. I got there's No Place Like Home image block half off at Hobby Lobby, so it cost me $2.50. And then I got this owl rocking chair looking ornament, and then these snowballs inside of the hat and little gift box ornaments from Walmart for $1.98 each. I also got this snowball ornament from Dollar General for $1, and then this blessed mug from Dollar Tree for $1. And they also have this at Walmart for $1.98. I actually bought it at Walmart, and then I got another one at Dollar Tree not long after. So I go ahead, place these items inside of the tier tray, and then that was it. I do want to say you do not want to put anything too heavy on the top of the tier tray. The rolling pin isn't going to hold a lot of weight, so don't put anything too heavy up there. How pretty is this? I really want to add a pizza pan to the bottom of this, but I might have to use a couple of rolling pins at the bottom to hold a good amount of weight. Next up, I'm going to show you how to make some buffalo check garland. Now what you're going to do, again, you're going to get that buffalo check scarf, and you are going to cut out little strips of the scarf. I'm cutting out pieces that are just 2 of those rows. So 2 of those square rows, a black row and a white row. And I just cut a bunch of strips. It's up to you how many you want to make. I literally had a whole lot of scarf left over from the size of garland I made. And the size that I made was about 3.5 feet. Then I'm taking this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree. It's 9 feet long, and I'm cutting out strips that are the same length as the strips that I cut out of the scarf. And I cut the entirety of that ribbon. The scarf, I had a lot left over. The ribbon, I did not. So what I'm going to be doing is I am going to be taking those strips that I cut out, putting hot glue down the middle of each strip, and then wrapping it around twine that is from Dollar Tree. And I'm just using hot glue to do this. And I just alter between that buffalo check print and then the burlap ribbon. Now, I made a piece, like I said, that was about 3.5 feet long, and that's because I ran out of ribbon. I had a lot of scarf left over, but not enough ribbon with the one roll that I had. With 2 of those burlap ribbon cutouts, I cut them down the middle, so I had smaller strips, and I just added them to the top of some of the burlap areas. I just skipped. So one of the burlap areas would have the smaller ribbon over it, and then the next one wouldn't, then the next one would, and the next one wouldn't. And I did that with just 2 of those pieces I cut out. Then I decided to add a smaller strip over each buffalo check area just because I thought it looked cuter with more fabric. And then that's how I made this little garland buffalo check piece. Now I do have one that I bought from Hobby Lobby, and it's on sale right now. It's originally $11.99, so I spent $6 on it, and it's really long. So if you don't feel like making it, you can go to Hobby Lobby. This cost me only $3 to make. Now here's a Dollar Tree Christmas tree hack. You can buy the Dollar Tree mini Christmas trees. There is a metal rod that's running through the middle of it, and you can see it at the top. So what you want to do is you want to take as many as you like and remove the bottom off of there. So I was using some pliers, and all I was doing was bending the metal back and forth until the rod just kind of snapped off. But if you have big enough wire cutters, you can obviously use those. I did not have those on hand. So after I got that rod at the bottom off, I then used my pliers once more to open up the hole, because once I had taken the pliers and squished it and got the rod off, it closed up the hole. So I'm opening it back up. But again, if you have wire cutters, go ahead and use those. Now I'm taking this wooden dowel that I got for 39 cents at Walmart. It's the smallest size they carry. I don't remember exactly what size this is, but it's the smallest size that they carry. And I'm putting my Christmas trees through that wooden dowel. So I'm using 3 of them that I put through there that I had removed the bottom from. And then the final 4th one that I put through there, I did not remove the bottom from it. There was no need to do that. So the very bottom tree still has the bottom attached, as well as the 3 little legs that come with the Dollar Tree Christmas tree. So I go ahead and I unravel all of the garland that is on that tree, and then I secure each spot where 2 of the trees meet with some hot glue, just to really secure it in place. Then I take some Dollar Tree garland, and it's the loose garland, and I wrap it around the tree because the trees are really sparse, and so I like to wrap the garland around there so that it makes the tree look more full. I then take single pieces of garland that Dollar Tree also carries, and I just kind of glue them throughout the tree to try to make it look a little bit even fuller. So at this point, the tree has cost me around $7 to make. $4 for the tree, 39 cents for the dowel, and then the extra garland. I went ahead and applied some fake snow to this, so it's the snow spray, just because I really like the way it looks. And now you have a even taller Dollar Tree Christmas tree. It is like a pencil Christmas tree, and like I said, I spent $7 making this. You can put this inside of a container, inside of a tray. I actually made this tray you're about to see with tumbling tower pieces from Dollar Tree. I added some stuffing from a pillow to the tray so it looked like snow, and now I have this inexpensive Dollar Tree pencil Christmas tree. And you can see it went from a small little thing to this big old thing. Really cool. Onto this cute mailbox. I'm actually really super proud of this one. So from Dollar Tree, you want to pick up some of the rolling pins. I'm going to be using 2, and these are made of real wood. Now this time around, I decided to get this little wood plank piece from Michael's. It was 99 cents instead of using the Jenga pieces. I just want to show you that there are other options out there. You don't have to just get everything from Dollar Tree. And to glue this together, I'm going to be using wood glue and hot glue. The reason I'm using some hot glue is because I want it to dry more quickly, because I'm filming and I don't want to wait around forever. So I attach 1 rolling pin to the center of that wood plank using the hot glue and wood glue. Then I attach another rolling pin on top of the initial rolling pin. It's up to you how tall you want to make this, but I only ended up using 2 of those rolling pins. Now for the top of the mailbox, I am going to be using this mailbox gift box from Dollar Tree. There's a bunch of different designs, but this is the one that I chose. What I do is I take one of the rolling pins and I trace that shape on the back of the mailbox. I then take a razor and I start kind of cutting and poking a hole through the bottom of the mailbox. I don't cut a perfect circle because I don't want it to end up being too loose. I just kind of do enough where I can go ahead and put the rolling pin through the bottom of the box. I decided to paint the wood red, and I'm just using the red that I used on the truck. I decided to wrap some garland around the rolling pin, and this will help hide where both of the rolling pins meet and makes it look more cohesive. I did decide to add some fake snow to the garland, and I topped it off with a bow that I got from Dollar Tree. I added glue to the back of the bow. I thought that that would be more secure than the little piece of like rope that it comes with. It's not that secure. To secure the mailbox, I decided to add some hot glue inside of there around that rolling pin, and then I wanted to make a little letter, so I got this letter box from Dollar Tree. I took the lid, I cut off the edges to that lid, and then I cut down that little letter so that it fits inside of my mailbox and it looks the way that I wanted it to look. So I used some scissors to do it and hot glue, and I called it a day. You can make a little letter if you want to out of an envelope that you want, but I thought this was super cute. I really like this mailbox. It was simple to make and expensive to do, and I just really like it. It's a perfect Christmas decoration. We have a throwback here. You're going to see me prior to me being pregnant, prior to me even being married. I'm going to show you how I made this throw blanket and some throw pillows using Dollar Tree placemats. We can start off with the throw pillows. From Dollar Tree, you want to pick up some of their placemats. There's 4 different designs that I was able to find. Now, if you know how to sew, you can go ahead and sew them together. If you have a sewing machine, that's even better. So let's start with the throw pillows. What I did is I took one placemat and I placed hot glue along the edges of the throw pillow. I then attached the other placemat, but I made sure I left an opening so that I can put some polyfiber inside of it. Now, I don't recommend getting your polyfiber or cotton from Dollar Tree. It's going to cost too much. What I recommend doing is going to Walmart and purchasing one of their inexpensive pillows. They have them for $2.47, and then the jumbo pillow is I think $3.47. I got the jumbo pillow just because I wanted a lot of polyfiber. It's much cheaper to buy a pillow and take that out of the pillow than buy it on its own. I then go ahead and I add some stuffing in between both of the placemats and then seal it off using more hot glue, and you have your very own placemat throw pillow using the Dollar Tree placemats. With one of those Walmart pillows, you'll be able to make a bunch of throw pillows. I only made 2 of them because you'll see what I ended up doing with the rest of the placemats that I had. There are many different methods you can use to create your own throw pillows. Like I said, you can sew it yourself. You can use some type of adhesive to attach it. And I heard about witch's adhesive. I think that's what it was called, witching stitching, something along those lines, and you put it on the edges of the pillow and then you iron it. I heard that you can only use that on edges of seams though. If you use hot glue, obviously you cannot throw this inside of your washer. It's going to fall apart on you, but if you end up sewing it, remember you can wash this, but you cannot put this inside of the dryer. So I know when you're decorating using throw pillows, you don't want to just have a bunch of rectangular shaped throw pillows. So I was trying to think of a way using Dollar Tree products to create throw pillows that have more of a square shape to them. And lucky for me, I was able to find these little pillowcases at Dollar Tree. They have them in a bunch of different colors. I chose red because of Christmas time. So what you want to do is you want to purchase some of these and then fill them up with your fiber. Once I have it filled up, I go ahead and zip it. There is a zipper along the edge of it. And then I grab some placemats that I like. I decided to use the Santa Claus placemats. I go ahead and try to center this as much as I possibly could on the center of this pillowcase, and then I glue it on. Again, you can stitch it on. There's other things you can use, but I used hot glue because I don't know how to sew, and it's just the most simplest thing that I could do. Everybody knows how to use a glue gun. Not everybody's good at sewing, and not everybody owns a sewing machine. Next up, this decorative blanket. Now, I consider this a throw blanket, but I will say this, it's not going to keep you that warm unless you put another fabric on the back of this or you layer the placemats. Now, there is a story behind this one. My original plan was to sew all of the placemats together and hand sew it. I don't own a sewing machine. Honestly, I've sewn like maybe a few times in my life, but I know that if I tried to hot glue this would not be a good blanket at all. I would lift it up and it would fall apart on me. And who really wants to put a blanket on top of themselves that has like hot glue all over the back of it? So what ended up happening was I ended up going to my fiance's mother's house, and I brought my placemats because I was going to start on the bottom of it so I can do the top of it at my house, but I wanted to start on the bottom of it just to get a head start. And I think sewing by hand is pretty self-explanatory. I was just gonna take a needle and thread and then just sew it all together. Now, she does own a sewing machine and she knows how to sew, and she saw me doing this and felt bad for me. And so what she did is she got her sewing machine out and she helped me. So I'm going to be showing you some wonky footage on the GoPro, but this was kind of spur of the moment. I didn't expect her to help me, and I'm so thankful. So what we did is we took the placemats and it depends how many placemats you're using. I decided to use 12 of them, so I did 4 rows with 3 placemats in a row. Now, if you decide to make one of these throw blankets the way that I did it, the snowman placemats and the poinsettia placemats are the same size. The snowman placemats are the same size as the trumpet placemats. These are a little bit bigger than these ones. So if you're gonna do it row by row, you wanna make sure that everything kind of lines up together. And at Dollar Tree, lots of times one product is not like the other. One of these placemats might be perfect, and then another one might have a little bit more imperfections. So maybe when you're trying to buy them at Dollar Tree, you try to get ones that are very close to each other. But if not, take all your placemats, lie them out so you can line up ones that are really close to each other to make one of the rows. So what she did was she started off with the first row. She took one placemat and sewed it to the other placemat. She just used her sewing machine, and I think that's pretty self-explanatory if you own a sewing machine. I'm not going to teach you how to sew because I really don't know how to sew with a sewing machine. She was trying to teach me. She was showing me what you do and what it means when like the needle breaks and all of that. So after she sewed two of them together, she sewed on the third one. So what she did was she did all 4 rows individually first. Once she had them all completed, she then attached 2 rows to each other. She then attached the bottom 2 rows to each other, and then when she had 2 sets of 2 rows, she attached them together to create 4 different rows, which aka was the entire blanket. And honestly, it was super easy for her to do. She did tell me this: if you don't plan on hand stitching this, she said that you could use that witch stitch type of thing, but you would just kind of have to layer the placemats slightly. And she also said if you decide to hand sew it, it's going to take a while. And I never got to that point because she did help me out, but with the sewing machine, it was so simple. There was nothing much to it. Now I was just going to leave it at that, but because she sews and she's done like quilts and blankets before, she told me that I should take some ribbon and wrap it around this, and then she would sew it in place. And what this does is it helps clean up the edges and creates like a more uniform shape rather than it being a little bit uneven in some areas, because the placemat edges, like I said, sometimes they're uneven from Dollar Tree. So what you do is you just take your ribbon and you create creases to go around the edges of the blanket, and then you can sew the ribbon in place. As we were wrapping the ribbon around, we were putting push pins in place to make sure the ribbon kind of stood in place, and it gave us a guide for when she sewed it on. She did all the sewing, and I was not going to touch her machine and break it. No, thank you, ma'am. Obviously, you can make this much bigger if you want to, smaller if you want to. And another idea is you can use it as a rug. Now, you do need something to weigh it down in place. It's going to move around a lot. The way that I'm doing this is I'm sticking it on top of a little rug that I already have, just on the center of it, and then I place a piece of furniture over it so I know that it's not going to move around too much. I know that I will be able to kick it with my foot slightly, but I can always just put it back in place. It's just like a decorative little rug if you want it to be that. Now I'm going to show you how I made this really pretty tray that is perfect for Christmas rustic woodland decor. So what you do is you take a pizza pan from Dollar Tree. I ended up painting mine with a white chalk paint. I did not want to redo that after deleting the footage because I would have had to wait for the paint to dry, and I was just over it. I was really upset after I deleted the footage. So pretend this is painted white. Then you're going to take some nautical rope from Dollar Tree and you're going to start layering it around the edge of the tray. And you can build up the layers. I ended up doing about 6 layers of that nautical rope, and I just used my hot glue gun to do this. Again, pretend that the tray is white, that I did 6 layers of rope. I was not having it. On top of the tray, I placed a dolly, and then I decided to glue some of those greenery pieces from on top of the ornament that I showed you guys earlier around the tray. So I put 2 in the front and the back, and then 2 on the sides. That's all I did for the tray. If you're wondering how I decorated the inside of the tray, I painted some mason jars from Dollar Tree white, and then I added some rope around them, and then just filled it up with some pine cones and greenery, and then I also added some pine cones to the side of the tray. You can do whatever you want, but I think what I did ended up looking super nice. And this piece right here is another piece I made using Dollar Tree products, so if you're interested on how I did that, I'll link that down for you guys as well. And now you are finished with the tray. Moving on to the final project, this lantern. From Dollar Tree, I picked up 4 of these 5x7 picture frames. These picture frames look like wood, but they're not really wood. They come in multiple colors. I chose this one. I take a pair of pliers and I remove the little holding kind of clasp that hold pictures in place. I removed them because I feel like it would have looked funny if I left them in there. Then I go ahead and I take all 4 of my frames and glue them to each other. I used a hot glue gun, but I recommend using something else that is much more heavy duty, like E6000. For the top of the lantern, I used 2 pieces of glasses that came inside of the picture frames. I go ahead, take those pieces, kind of figure out how I want them to lay on top of the lantern. Then I take my hot glue gun, place that on top of 1 piece of the glass, and then I take the other piece of glass and then just kind of hold it in place until it dries at the position that I want it to be. I remove it again from on top of the lantern and I secure it with some more glue in between where 2 pieces of glass meet. And then I go ahead and I glue that glass on top of the lantern. Now to decorate the lantern, I'm using this burlap bow I got from Dollar Tree, as well as one of those green pieces from on top of the ornament, and I glue that to the front of the lantern. So I put the bow down and then I take that green piece and glue that to the front of the bow. Now to the sides of the top of that lantern, I start to glue down pieces of that white holly berry. At first it looks like popcorn. You got to add more stuff to it so it doesn't necessarily look like popcorn, but initially I just laid down a bunch of holly. Then I started to add some small pine cones. These pine cones are from Joann Fabrics as well, and they're just regular colored pine cones. Again, cheaper to go somewhere else than to just buy them at Dollar Tree. To add some color to this, I'm actually using the leaves that were on my holly berry stems, and I'm just kind of cutting them up and gluing them all around the sides of that glass. I think it looks better this way. I also ended up eventually adding some pieces of my Christmas tree from the Dollar Tree, just randomly on the sides, because I felt like it added a little bit more greenery that I needed. You could put whatever you want inside of your lantern. I ended up using some of the mirror candle holders from Dollar Tree, placing that at the bottom. I also put a candle, and then I added some of that garland that I used on the Christmas tree around the candle, but again, I spray painted that white so it looked snowy. That's it for these throwback Christmas Dollar Tree DIYs. I hope you guys enjoyed them. I hope to have some new DIYs out this year, but I really wanted to reshare these ones, especially if you, what did I just say? Especially if you're a newer subscriber of mine. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.